we hack the code and flip the tag. Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet. Hey.
Hello and welcome to Unconventional Wisdom, about conventional wisdom. I'm your host, Miller-Hershon. I am just delighted today to have a conversation today with Marivi Bryant from Home Agency. And let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to just jump right in. Marivi Bryant is the founder and president of Home Agency. It's a people-first marketing and branding firm that partners with mission-driven organizations and national brands. With nearly 25 years of experience working with organizations, including the Phoenix Suns, NASCAR Foundation, State Farm, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, she's passionate about using marketing to create meaningful impact. She's also a dedicated community advocate and founder of Mission Meets Action Award, and it is a $100,000 pro bono initiative supporting nonprofits through strategic marketing and storytelling. And this is actually the second year of this award. So, Marivi, oh,
Hi, thanks for having me. Nice to see you again.
yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with you because you have a really interesting story. So, you're originally from Venezuela, and why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to the US?
Sure can. I was a tennis player as a kid, and interestingly enough, in the 90s, in a third world country, the opportunities for girls' sports were not as diverse as the ones we have here in this country. In America, you can play anything, you can participate in anything. Truly, in Venezuela, the options were not as diverse, and tennis really was something that everybody was doing, and it was an after school program, and all of my friends were a part of it, and it became really fun to go to tennis practice. After I started getting good and won some tournaments and so forth, we identified that it was an opportunity for me to either move to the capital or potentially have to move to the States so that I could work with better coaches and have better competition. I think as an independent soul, I always seek the opportunity to leave home a little early. It's crazy to say now as a parent because I cannot imagine, nor will I allow my 13-year-old to leave the house yet. And it's not for being overprotective. I just think that those are such pivotal years where children need their family. And I think it was a really tough decision for my family to let me come out to America at such a young age. But I was able to convince them. They were okay with the process. They knew that it was for my future, and the ability to go to a university here in this country that will be paid for by a scholarship, it was always the goal. So came to the States at age 13, kind of did the whole tennis academies thing. And at a
Okay,
certain point,
Marivi, just one second. I just want to make it clear for our audience. Okay.
yeah,
So if you didn't get this, she came here at 13 by herself. Okay. Nobody from her family came with her. All right.
no.
So just that, because I think that's an important thing for people to understand.
And if you are not in the environment of sports, it's hard to comprehend, but it's actually very common in our space. I lived in a house with 15 to 17 other teenagers that were in the exact same boat as I was. It's what you did for sports back then. And it's actually something that you still do today. But it was a very interesting experience and a very formative experience. And it built a lot of independence, and some of the habits that I learned, I feel like I apply to business today. And at the same time, I go back and I think that I cannot believe that was my life.
And so tell us about your tennis career before we get into your business career.
So I think I'm 5'5", I'm 130 pounds. At some point, I think in my teens, you start realizing that, yeah, I was good, but just not good enough to really make it to the big leagues, right? Size matters. And I started realizing that wasn't going to be for me. That college was the right path, and worked really hard to make sure that I had the opportunities to take the SATs and do whatever it needed to get recruited and then go to college. And frankly, when I got to college, I'm sure that if anybody listening that was a D1 athlete after having a really tough kind of childhood in sports can attest to the fact that it was the most wonderful experience being in college where you're a student athlete and you're getting paid to be there and you have the ability to build friends, have relationships, healthy partying, going to school and still representing your sport. It was just a wonderful experience that I couldn't recommend more.
And did you speak English at 13?
So I did, and it's kind of a joke in my family. We believe that there's such thing as the language gene, and we think me and my sister had it, and we really learned English by watching TV as kids. We would watch
Oh,
HBO and satellite TV, and I kind of showed up at this in this country and I spoke English. Can't tell you when it started, can't tell you how it worked, but it happened to my sister as well. And looking back, I realized how much I still needed to learn. I think that I just kind of cruised by with the limited vocabulary that I had. But yeah, that's how it was.
wow. It's really an amazing story. It really is. And I think it's interesting, right? Because you're like, you don't know what you don't know. And it just sounds like a great adventure.
It does. And if you talk to my mom now, she would say that their phone bill was the most expensive it ever been because I would call my parents, collect call multiple times a day, every day from any part of the country. Because the interesting part about coming here at that age was it's not that I was just in America at the tennis academies. We were traveling the world in tennis tournaments. So there's a double kind of aspect to it. It's being away from home, training in a foreign country, but it's also being all over South America, all over Europe, with your coaches, with your partners and other teammates, just in different countries playing tournaments and trying to call your mom from a payphone in France, collect call to stay connected to them all those years.
Right.
Yeah, it's, again, I talk about this and I just can't believe that's how it all played out.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Let's kind of move to your business life.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything, honestly, about your growing up in your world that's conventional, but on the one hand, but on the other hand, you do make a really interesting point. If being an athlete in an academy, originally from a different country, feels like a huge adventure to somebody like me who was born here and raised here, I think you make a really good point about the fact that in that world, that is the norm, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So it
exactly.
can,
It wasn't something super unique to me. There was
right,
dozens, if not hundreds of teenagers that did that back then and are doing it right now. Hundreds, I
right.
would say. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
norm.
yeah. And so you were here though through high school, you went to college here, and then you are obviously at that point knew that you weren't going to be a professional athlete.
Right.
So you finish college, you go to work, and what did you think conventional business wisdom, like what did you think that the world of work or success was going to look like? Something that you followed and then later on you realized, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me.
So I think that when you spend so much of your time and your life in a competitive environment, you can't help but
Mm.
translate that into what's now turning into your business environment. My 4 years in college, I was very competitive in the sense of I wanted to identify the best experiences and opportunities for internships and work experience that would land me the potential best job when I got out of college. So it became a little bit of an obsession. I wrote for the local newspaper because I thought that maybe I was going to go into journalism. Then I interned at a TV station because I thought maybe I should be in front of a camera on television. And then I understood the way the market works. And when I heard that maybe I needed to take a job in a small town in Nebraska carrying my own camera while chasing a story, I thought, ooh, that's a tough environment. I don't know if that's what
Yeah.
I want to be. And then I switched over and I started doing internships in marketing and internships in sports. I worked for a minor league hockey team and then I worked for the athletic department in the ticket sales department. So I started getting experience and becoming very competitive about the experience that I would have by the time I was a senior and could graduate. And then it became the hunt for what is going to be that next job. One of the interesting things that I feel like I just had assumed that was conventional was that you always just wanted to chase the next big thing. I got the good job. So when is the next big job? And how do I get to the next big job? And I think I did that for a lot of years and realized that it was really just the wrong way to approach the opportunities that I had. I feel that I should have taken the time to cultivate more of the relationships and really live in the moment of the job that I
Mhm.
had rather than so quickly try to chase the next job. It took me a while to get to that place. It took me years of maturity to understand that the job that I have at the time is just the right job for me right now. And I should be able to do the best job that I can and not be seeking that next opportunity.
I think that's like a lesson for life, right? That
Yes.
just what it means to really be in the present moment. And it's a little tricky, right? Because on the one hand, you're ambitious,
Right.
right? And you certainly want to keep your eye out for what's next. But the idea of being present in what you're doing, it really resonates with me.
Yeah. And I take that today. And as a parent, I think about that. And rather than think of these milestones that my children are going to be hitting and how to get ahead of those, is kind of change my mindset into being just focused in where they are right now and giving what I am supposed to give to them in this very moment. So,
Right. Right. You tell me if you think that this is true. But I think when we're always looking for the next big thing, right? I think sometimes we miss out on I don't know, it's funny. I'm only hesitating because sometimes I don't like this phrase, but somehow it seems appropriate here, which is you're enough. So
yeah,
I think sometimes this future seeking is
yeah,
always going to be better on the horizon, right? It's the
yeah.
next thing is going to be even greater and better,
Right,
right? And
right.
and so it's hard to appreciate the gift of now, right?
Oh,
The
for
like
sure. Sure.
enoughness of now.
Yeah. And I say this all the time. I say this to my husband and to my teammates and everybody at home agency is I'm never satisfied. And I have learned that can be a good thing because it drives ambition, but two things can be true where it's okay that I'm never satisfied, but I am grateful for what I have in the moment. And I think that as a founder and as somebody with a startup that we are just a year old, you learn to understand that yes, our ambitions are really big and the ambition to grow and to do the great things we know we can achieve, that's okay to keep driving us. But I just really try to take a moment and think of the hard work that we have put in so far and be grateful for the clients that we have today, the accomplishments that we've had today, the people that are here helping grow the agency every day. I just find that so valuable rather than only focusing on the future and focusing on the next win. It's just a lesson that you carry throughout and consciously and intentionally think about that every day.
It's interesting that you say that because something that I have been thinking about, and I wonder if this resonates at all with you, is that I'm going to be taking a course right now in AI. Like, who isn't, right? But really, applications for my business, how do we really build what we want and need versus just using it as an advanced Google, right? And I specifically wanted to take the course from somebody who was non-technical because I'm not technical. Here is what I find myself doing, and I think it's relevant to this conversation, is that there's fabulous information in this course, but it's not quite as maybe organized or presented in a way. Sometimes things are, of course, as clear as mud. And I don't think it's just me. I think it's just the way the course is. And you know what's really interesting is that I find that if I don't stop myself, I can spend a lot of energy on what's wrong with the course,
Yeah.
right? Like just sort of going into that mindset, which in some ways is like that, what the future opportunity looks like, right? I think it's relevant. And what have really been self talk that's going on for me is that there is a lot of valuable information in what I am currently learning. Oh, it's not presented in maybe the best way or whatever, but that is not my job. I'm not the course creator. My job is to take what I'm getting and figure out how I can achieve my objectives. And that's where my attention should be. But I will tell you, Like it is hard. I have to take like,
Not to give notes, right? You're like in your
yeah,
mind, gosh, I should do this. This is the notes I want to give the person to. But yeah,
yeah. Right. And I'm like, I'm not her coach, not my job. She didn't ask.
that's
Right.
right. Exactly.
Yeah. So interesting. All right. You've had a lot of success. And what's one thing that people assume that you've got figured out all on the outside, but behind the scenes you are still wrestling with?
I think that so entrepreneurship is hard, and being a founder is hard, and getting just launching the thing is hard. And because that's a common knowledge, I think that people sometimes assume that you just you just have it figured out somehow. Maybe, oh, this person has to be really good at finances, and they're clearly really good at keeping track of everything happening behind the scenes so the company makes money or whatever the case, or thinking that maybe there's something about you individually as a founder that is driving the success of the company. And that is just so not the case. This is not something that I'm doing by myself. It's just not. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not. I focus on the who and not the what. So even though we understand what needs to happen, I like to think that one of my greatest skills is being resourceful. It's the people that I know, the people that work with us, the relationship that I have, and identifying people that are going to help us grow in the way that we're supposed to grow. So this isn't a one-man shop in any way, shape, or form. This is really something that happens in a collective effort of people that care and want to drive the business. I think it's easy to always just think of, oh, wow, look at that company. The leader must be doing all of these different things. And it is so not the case. It's just not.
Although I think it takes a lot of confidence and security in yourself to be able to say, I'm not good at this part, right?
Yes, I think just being self-aware. And I'll say that I like to believe that I am. I know what I am good at, and I know that the areas that I'm not. And that doesn't mean that because I'm not good at, I'm making this up, finance, I'm going to go ahead and take a bunch of finance classes and become an expert. I don't need to do that, right? There are
Right.
people that are skilled in that space. And I have to educate myself to be able to have the conversations about finance to grow the business. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that I have to become an expert. I still believe that you have to focus on the skills that you can improve individually, focus on your strengths, which is not something that I grew up with, right? I grew up in an environment, and I feel like a lot of people that grew up in the 80s and 90s, it was an environment of how can you be better at everything? Oh, you're not good at math? You need to become good. Let's get you the tutors, let's get you the whatever. And it's almost like, do we? Or if that person's really good at English and writing and creativity, should we focus on exploring that aspect of that individual and making them better at things that they're already interested in and good at? So it takes a lot of confidence. And I think confidence comes from proof. And when you've been doing this for a long time and you have stumbled as much as I have, you start seeing the successes and understanding why you became successful in the first place. And you have the confidence to identify the things that you know you have to fix. I understand the areas that are gaps for myself personally, for our team, for our agency. And seeking help, it's never been the problem. I'm not afraid to ask for it. I'm not afraid to check in with people. Like I said, I think being resourceful and self aware has really helped me personally and helped our business for sure.
Right. Oh my God, there's so much there. So, first of all, one of the things that I would love to point out here is that, and you tell me whether you think that this is true or not. When you grow up in an environment where you have coaches, you didn't just have one coach, you have coaches for a lot of different things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just becomes a natural part, right? In order to be elite, in order to be better, right? So I think, first of all, that a lot of people feel like asking for help, having a coach is like saying, I'm a failure, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So I just think that model of good to great in terms of asking for help, it's a really important structure to have in your brain and in your business.
no, for sure. I have had the privilege of working with an executive coach for years and years. It started as something that was offered by one of my former employers, like an internal leadership course. And I built a relationship with my coach. And after I left that company and went on to other companies, I brought him in to either run leadership training for the leadership team of the company I was representing at the time. And then I then brought him back individually just to do one-on-one coaching with me while I was running a senior team many years ago. And that relationship, I've talked about this in other podcasts and other interviews, has really changed the way that I work as a leader today. One of the greatest things he ever told me was that from the work and the results that we got of becoming a better leader, a more empathetic leader and understanding, I used to beat myself up thinking that I wasn't the best at what I was doing. I was not providing my team with what they needed. And he said that I became the leader that I was always meant to be. So while I had a gap in ebbs and flows and all sorts of different issues as I was growing into myself, he was able to see that the final result was a result of something that was always meant to be there. And I work with him still, and he someone that I'm even considering bringing into the agency to work with the rest of the team, because we can really benefit from the relationships of working with a coach.
Yeah, right. And I have that same experience with my clients. So I love that. And then I think the other part of this that you said that I really want to point out, because it's interesting because I'm working with a client on this right now who just took over, is a new CEO, which is what you said is, I don't have to be an expert at finance, right? And you can definitely outsource that. And most founders and CEOs do, right?
Sure.
But here is the thing, you have got to have enough knowledge, enough accountability, be able to ask better questions, the right questions
Yeah.
to understand what you're looking at. And that is something that you do need to learn, because I have a client who never asked the questions and had an employee steal from them,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Like, you have to know what you're looking at.
No, for sure. I feel bad. That has to be such a difficult thing because as a leader and a founder, the people you surround yourself with, you fall in love with and you build relationships with and treat them like family and you bring them into this inner circle and you have this blind trust being one of our core values. And then for that to happen, that has to be really heartbreaking. And this person's probably kicking themselves and thinking, what did I miss? How did I blindly trust this individual without, again, maybe asking the right questions or just being in the room, understanding what was going on around him or her?
I think there's both things. It doesn't mean that you, like you said, take courses and understand finance. That is not the highest and best use of your time,
Yeah.
resources, or talent. On the one hand, on the other hand, you do have a fiduciary responsibility to your company to
Yeah.
know enough,
Yeah.
right? To ask the right questions, have the accountability in
Yeah.
place. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that because I think, and we're talking about finances and there are consequences, but I honestly feel like you asking better questions in a lot of ways, aside from strategy, that's one of your main, I think, tools as a founder and CEO, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a million different questions. It's not just status and updates on things. It's questions that are making the rest of the team even rethink about their own approach.
Right.
Because that's also the challenge is that as a founder is even if you have partners or even if you have co-owners of the business, as a founder, it's hard for other people to ever be in the same place that you are mentally. This is something that you think about 24/7. And you can pass that on to someone else, but you got to also remember that the people, either people in your leadership team or your business partners, they all have a vested interest in making the business better. It is still your job as a founder to challenge them and with the right questions and the right prompts that are going to keep them motivated and keep them active and keep them engaged and remind them of this vision that we have kind of cooked together, right? Because those reminders have to happen. I find that every single week. Sometimes we sit in a new business meeting or a growth meeting and we go, oh my gosh, I meant to reach out to this person a million years ago, or I meant to do this content piece because of this, that, and the other, and completely lost track of that. That was something important for us to do. So again, asking the right questions, having the right prompts is just something that should become part of a regular leader routine.
Absolutely. All right. So your agency is about a year old, but you also didn't necessarily start from nothing because you've been doing this for a long time. So what's your biggest leadership or management challenge right now in the business?
I think that with growth and the growth that we experience is protecting the culture that we set out to build at the beginning. We talk about this almost every day, and I know that there's going to be a challenge, and it's a good challenge, right? Because that this comes with growth, and growth is it's great. We want that. It's easy to keep the intentional culture that you have decided to build when it's only 10 or 15 of you. But what happens when that number gets higher and you have people that are, especially in a remote environment, which is how we run our company? We're all over the country. It works great for us. We're intentional about the time together, whether that's a client event or meeting that we intentionally get together for, or other intentionally planned gatherings. But as a remote organization, you have to be extra intentional about culture, about the time that you meet. There's no water cooler conversations happening anymore, right? Opportunities to bond or a quick pop in for questions. Those pop ins become 30-minute meetings on Zoom, right? And ensuring that the new people that come in are on our same wavelength. Again, we're not trying to build a culture where everybody's the same, of course not. But there's a vibe and there's a theme and there's a type of people that we want to work with. And protecting that as we grow, it's going to be one of our greatest challenges, and we're facing it right now.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. And I think understanding and paying attention to it up front
Yeah.
is really helpful. Really
Yeah.
helpful. So, what's one unconventional habit or mindset shift that's helped you grow the business?
Unconventional, I would say, and I'll just focus on, I think, agencies that I have been a part of. I think that not chasing money has been something that has really worked for us. We chase relationships, we chase the right engagements, we chase the right opportunities, the right connections and clients we want to work with. We are not chasing things because, oh my gosh, that's going to make us money or that's going to be transcendent. We believe that money will come with the right approach and the right opportunities. And I don't think that most founders or CEOs think this way, right? You have to think about the bottom line. There's fiduciary responsibilities. That's just how it works. But I think that it has worked for us so far. And I think it's a hill that a lot of us are willing to die on, that our relationships are worth more. And good thing comes to those that are doing good things. It sounds a little cheesy, but it's kind of the truth.
I
Yeah.
love that. And speaking of good things, tell us a little bit more about the mission. What was it called again? Mission Meets Action
Action.
Award. So tell us
Great
a little
stuff.
bit about that because it's do open sometime soon, right? So people could actually jump on this. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I think it's a nice segue because, in the spirit of trying to do the right thing, one of the things that I have been wanting to do for years and years, and I pitched to most of the agencies that I was a part of, was to do this kind of annual pro bono project gift to nonprofit organizations. So, what we did last year is that with the launch of the agency, we launched our Mission Meets Action Award, which is $100,000 in pro bono services, marketing, strategic communication services for a nonprofit organization. We did it last year. We had a great amount of applications from all over the country, and we ended up choosing StoryCorps as the winner. And currently, we've been working with them on strategic planning and all sorts of different things, and it's been wonderful. Now we're in year two. We have newly formed an advisory board to help us not only expand the presence of the Mission Meets Action Award, try to garner more applications from all over the country, help with the selection process. And that application goes live on Monday, August 17th. You can find it on our website at wearehomeagency.com, on our social channels. We will be posting a lot about it and posting the application and all of the requirements and so forth. So we're excited to see this kind of next wave on this second year of the Mission Meets Action Award. We truly believe that A lot of these organizations deserve the same level of talent and marketing and strategic communications that the big brands do, but we know that they don't have the resources. So this is an opportunity for us to provide those resources so that oftentimes their exterior can finally match their interior and make sure that
I just,
their mission comes to life.
yeah, I love that. All right. I have one last question for you, and it's a two-parter.
Okay.
So, leaders secretly battle with imposter syndrome, no matter how much success they achieve. So, the two parts are, first part is if in this current iteration of you, it shows up, what is a circumstance where you might get that cringe or that lack of confidence, even if it's just for a moment? And
Mhm.
then what do you do about it? Is the second question.
I think about the proof of the last 20 years. And I even get honest with myself, even when things didn't necessarily work out at whatever instance, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I know that things ended up working out for the best. So I always try to go back and think of the proof. And I'm an over communicator and I'm not afraid to share. So I have had lots of these moments recently. And to be honest, I talk to my partners about it. I talk about it and I say, I'm having this insecurity because of this. And I feel like the moment I release it, I let it out, I catch myself going, this is silly. Why am I having insecurities about this after I say it out loud? So I think that if you have that someone, whether it's a spouse or a partner, a business partner, even a colleague or a teammate, that you can have these honest conversations with, not only can you help talk it through, but I feel like you just let it out of your system by saying it out loud and admitting it out loud. So
Right.
that's kind of how it's
Marivi,
happening.
yeah, I think you hit on something really important that I'm not actually sure that we've talked about on this show before, which is everybody feels it in some way, shape, or form. I think it's the keeping it as a secret is the part that creates the vulnerability, right? That's the part that creates shame and uncertainty and uncomfortableness and all those other things. By being able to name it and to just
Say it
now
out loud, release it.
say it out loud, right? The other thing is too, what I am going to say to the audience listening is I do definitely think that it is helpful to think through who you say that to and what kind of support you want around it, right?
Yeah,
Because I think that I am somebody who would want somebody to say, "You got this. Thank you for trusting me with this. You got this," right? For me, if somebody started to say, "Oh my God, Kim, you're so good. You're so great at this," right? That for me would be a huge turnoff, right?
right. I
Like,
think that
I,
when you talk to someone, and I think of my partners when we talk about this, there's two areas that are coming from. One might say, I hear you, and I actually have felt the same way. So that right there, as we know, that validation and knowing that you're not the
yeah,
only one that feels that way already helps. But then on the flip side, then my other partner may say, what are you talking about? Look at the proof. So it's a little bit of both, right? Because we never
right.
want to dismiss those feelings because, again, all feelings are valid, right? So if there's a feeling of insecurity or that imposter syndrome, knowing that you're not alone and lots of people are feeling that way, one of them feeling like that right now as I said it out loud, right? And then the second thing is going back and thinking, looking at the proof
Right.
shows that there's no reason for myself to feel that imposter syndrome over this particular area.
You know what? Maybe it is an area that you want to grow, right?
Exactly. Maybe it just identifies an opportunity and a gap that needs to be
Right.
addressed, and there's absolutely no shame in that. I mean, good
That's
for you
right.
if you
Well,
can identify it, right?
absolutely. So that I think is the key. There is no shame in that. And the only shame part comes from the story that you tell yourself about it, right? I should know that. I shouldn't have made that mistake, right? I should be better. I should have closed that deal, right? I should have saw that coming, right?
Yeah, one of my dear teammates, I'm butchering her line, but she says, "You always win the game that you're playing in your head, right?"
That's
Something
right.
like that, and it's true. You convince yourself that this was happening, or you're gonna win that game.
Right. That is fabulous, right? And my line, although it's certainly at this point not original, but stop shooting on yourself, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I love this. You're going to win the game that you're playing, right?
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
choose, right? You choose.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Love that. Oh my God. Yay to your teammate. That is such a good line. I think that's actually a perfect way to end the conversation. Yeah. All right. So we've been talking to Marivi Bryant from Home Agency. They do have an award that you can apply for. Like she said, you can go to their website or you can go to their social media and find out what the criteria is. But I'm thinking that because you want national impact, can local agencies apply or more national impact?
No, anyone can apply. StoryCorps happens to be the winner, and we ended up selecting a runner-up from a local organization. This does not necessarily mean that it's going to
Okay.
be a national winner. Truly, it really doesn't. It's
Okay. So,
a matter of the need and the impact. Really, one of the biggest criteria is the ability for that nonprofit to work with an agency like us, right? If your organization of 2 people, it's going to become a little difficult to handle a team like
right.
us that are going to come in and really wreak havoc in a good way.
Yeah.
You need to have the ability to work with an agency that staff and the capabilities to
Right.
follow through with the project.
Yeah. Love that. All right. So, if that's interesting to you, thank you so much for this just amazing conversation and sharing your story with us. And I really think it's impactful. So, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Kim. So nice to see you.
All right. You have been listening to Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom. I'm your host, Kim Miller-Hershon. You've been listening to Marivi Bryant. I would love you to do 2 things. One, if this is a good podcast and a good story for you, please subscribe because that really helps us. And then the second thing is that I put out a newsletter every week and it's got one thing that I go over and one action that you can take. Subscribe to the newsletter. I think you'll like it. And actually recently somebody texted me and said, "Kim, I like those egg pictures." So when my food smiles at me, I always take a picture of it and then I get to share it with you. Anyway, go out there and be a better human.
Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet.